time no see. I know, I disappear and then you don't see me for months and then I come back. I think that I mostly stay gone because I like to try to keep myself focused and not off track, especially when I'm trying to lose weight, just because sometimes people can put their 2 cents in and they don't mean to be rude, or they don't mean to come off a certain way, but when you're already kind of beating up yourself, or you're trying to work through things, or you're trying to work what your program is, what works best for you, sometimes other people can get into your head, at least for me in the past. No one's been negative or anything like that, but it's just more myself, and I start questioning my thoughts and what I'm doing. And at the end of the day, what you do to lose weight has to work for you. It can't be something that you don't see yourself doing, because more than likely you're going to set yourself up for failure, unless it's like 5 or 10 pounds. If you're here to lose 5 or 10 pounds, you have that leeway to kind of mess up and try other things and try other people's. And even if you're miserable, it's not that long. But when you have 50 plus pounds to lose, you can't allow people to get into your head too much, or it can set you up for failure, and you have to do what's right for you. So what I'm sharing today does not mean necessarily it's going to work for you. And I don't want you to feel down. I don't want you to feel upset at yourself because you tried it and it didn't work. I've tried things, I've lost weight, I do this roller coaster. Tomorrow I could put back on all my weight. I never say I'm done. I'm just always a work in progress. I don't know if this will work forever. I hope that it will, but I know I've said those words several times before, even on this very camera. So I don't want to set myself up for failure, and I don't want to set other people up for failure. Just because something doesn't work, it may need to be modified. It may need to change to work best for you. So I'm going to talk about me. And then if you choose to try it, it's up to you, but I don't want you to take it as this is set in stone, because not everything works for everyone. So I wanted to first update you. I am currently down 63 pounds, which is a lot of weight for me. That's the most I've ever lost. It's also been the biggest I've ever been. So that includes being pregnant with my son. So I want to talk about how I personally lost the weight and what worked for me. And maybe it might work for you, maybe it won't work for you. But there's only one way to find out, and that's, if you choose to try it or use some of it and see what maybe works best for your body type and how you eat, what you enjoy. So I wanted to first talk about intermittent fasting, which is my main thing that I do. And what that means is that I eat from a window of 1 p.m. until 7 p.m. and then I cut it off. I don't eat anything outside of that window. So I break my fast at 1 p.m. by eating something, and then I will end my fast before 7. So I make sure I get all my food in. Now, there will be times where I have to break my fast a little later, and occasionally it'll take me into the later hours. Sometimes I'll start a little later and still close my window at 7. Just depends on what the day holds, but I tend to always try to stay in that window. I don't usually break it ever early, just because I like to stay within that 1 p.m. I noticed a few times at the beginning when I would break it a little early, I noticed the next day I'd be hungry earlier. So for me personally, it worked best to make sure that I never went early. I always, if anything, went later. So that's what I want to talk about first, is that I stay within that window. For some, it might be really hard to do. Before that time, the only thing that I will have are 0-calorie items. So if I'll have water, unsweetened iced tea, and if I'm just so tired and need something, I will sometimes have coffee, but I'll put like 0-calorie sweetener in it. But that's rarely. With that, a lot of times I just drink the tea because I can drink that without any sweeteners or anything like that. It's just what works for you. So you can have 0-calorie items before that fast is broken. it's not supposed to affect anything. Personally, I feel like when I would put something with like a 0-calorie sweetener, it triggers your mind into thinking, oh, it's time to eat. So I did try to just cut that off. I don't do it very often. Only time I do it is if I've had to get up really early for something for my son, or I need to be somewhere and I'm getting up at like 4 in the morning, then I usually will want something around like 11 or 12 just because I'm dragging. And I would occasionally at the beginning, I would have the sweetened coffee. But other than that, I don't have anything that has calories in it. So that's the main thing that I feel has helped me the most in losing weight. The second thing is that I use a Fitbit Versa, and this has been excellent for me. They're not sponsoring me. I sure wish they would. So what I do is I make sure that I get 10,000 steps in every single day, not missed a day. Not missed one single day since I started this journey. So I make sure I get the 10,000, and I'm usually trying to get around at least 13,000 steps, except on the weekends. Usually the weekends I want to be a little lazier, so I'll typically just stay pretty close to the 10,000 steps. But I have not missed a day of 10,000 steps, even being very sick. I still got my 10,000 steps. The other thing that's nice about the Fitbit Versa is that it will tell you how many calories you've burned for the day. And of course, those aren't exactly accurate, but at least it's a good base model for you. And so I will use that as kind of a way of knowing how many calories I can have for that day. And I usually go off of the day before's calorie burn and make sure that I at least make that many steps for that day, so that I'm making sure that I'm covering my calories. On the Versa 2, you can put in, so for me, I wanted to try to average 2 pounds a week, even though I didn't lose 2 pounds a week. Because I have a slower metabolism, it was more like 1 pound a week, maybe 1.1 pound a week, averaging out, but towards the end. But I wanted to talk about that because if you have a slower metabolism, you may choose to go for the 2 pounds a week simply so that you can get that 1 pound off. If you have a slower metabolism, you might find that works better for you. It's more trial and error, and you have to see. The other thing that I've talked about in a past video is you want, it keeps track of your menstrual cycle for women. And that's important because for me, I noticed that when I'm ovulating, I would gain weight. And when I would start my menstrual cycle, I would gain weight. And so really there was just a really small window where I was losing the bulk of my weight. And for some, if you don't see that scale moving or you see it go up, it can be really hard to stay on track if you can't prepare your mind for it. And so as soon as I started keeping track of everything, I saw the way things were fluctuating, and it finally clicked for me. I finally knew, okay, it's not something I'm eating, it's not something I'm not doing. This is simply my body's way of handling certain situations. So I tend to retain water or whatever it is during those times. So if you are female, I strongly suggest keeping track of something like that. And it kind of stinks because at first you're going to weigh yourself daily, and that's can be a little unhealthy, especially for some. So that's something you have to take into consideration if you do want to do that. Otherwise, you just have to be prepared to maybe possibly see your average as a whole versus weekly, because your weekly may not be accurate depending on how your body responds to certain things that are going on at certain times of the month. So I wanted to talk about that again because it really has played a big role in keeping me focused and making sure that I'm still working towards my goals. I'd still like to lose about 10 more pounds, but I also want to put on muscle. That's one thing that I have not done through this process, even though I promised I was going to. I think I promised you guys I was going to, and I didn't, is I have not done any type of weight training, and I really have to start including that so I can, and I'm going that's one thing I'm going to include into this one is some vulnerable video of myself after I've lost the weight, and show it to you guys so that I can show where I was and where I am, I still, you know, I'm going to be honest, my body is not what it was. I don't know necessarily if my body would be where I want it anyway, since I'm 40. I don't have a 20-year-old body anymore, so that's something I always have to take into consideration no matter what, but I have seen women that look amazing. I've never had a super, super tight body anyway. It's always been a little on the mushier side, especially in the thigh area and the leg area. It's just where I've always kept a lot of my weight personally. But there is one thing, I've always had kind of a smaller waist, and so my waist is definitely got a little loose skin on it, and you know, that's just comes with the territory. And I hope, you know, it improves some with weight training, and I think it definitely will. But I think there's always going to be probably a little bit of loose skin. It's not terrible though. It could be a lot worse. It could be a lot worse. But I want to share it because, hey, I don't care. It took a lot for me to get to this point, and I'm proud of myself. And like I said in my video when I show you, because I just did it before this, is that anything that anyone has to say to me is I say it 1,000 times worse to myself. I nitpick myself, and I want it to change, and I want to be better. And, you know, I know how to get it better some, but there's going to be some parts of me that aren't going to get better. I'm always going to have some stretch marks. I'm always going to have some loose skin. I'm not going to go through any type of surgery or anything to remove certain things. So if it doesn't come naturally, then that's just the way it is. And that's something that I'm just going to deal with. And I'm not, you know, I'm not trying to wear a bikini anymore or anything like that personally. I don't see anything wrong with women who feel confident in their body at whatever age wearing a bikini. I just don't feel comfortable at my age anymore. One, because I have tattoos, and so I feel a little weird showing tattoos at 40. I don't know, it's weird. Some people have no problems with it, and I don't judge anyone if they do. I just, now that I'm older, I feel like I want to cover them up a little more. That's me. But and like I said, I think people look fantastic showing them off. I just feel a little like I feel, this is the honest truth, because one is down my ribs, down all the way this on the front of my stomach, and one takes up the most portion of my lower back. I feel like if I'm showing it off, I feel like I'm trying to portray that I have this perfect stomach back, and it makes me feel too self-conscious. That's what it all boils down to. And so that's why I now want to wear like a one piece with like board shorts, just because I'm not confident in my own body. And that's the honest truth. So we're just keeping it real. So now I just want to get into what I eat. Because I know I talked about doing keto, and that's still a possibility if I want to, you know, get those last couple pounds off, or I'm just, so stuff starts going in the opposite direction. Whatever the case, it's still an option for me. But there's going to be some people that are going to come for me on what I eat. But I think personally, you have to find what will work for you personally, and what you could see yourself doing for the rest of your life, and be truly honest with yourself in that. Because if this, and this is just my opinion, if you can't see yourself doing it every day for the rest of your life, it's probably maybe not going to be the best diet for you, because you're going to set yourself up for failure, because you're going to go back to the way that you like to eat, and those pounds are going to come back on. So with like keto and things like that, if you can see yourself living that life forever, then that's the perfect diet for you, because you don't crave as much the things that are outside of the keto diet. For me personally, I love sweets and I love bread. If they ask me tomorrow, you're going on to an island, you can have two things, what would they be? I'd pick bread, and something sweet. I don't know what sweet item, I'd pick it. I don't care as long as it had sugar in it, and bread. Those are my two favorite things. It's what I live for. And that's what gets me into trouble as soon as I stop dieting. And so I knew, realistically, being truthful 1000% to myself, that if I didn't figure out a way to incorporate the things that I love and that are easy and I can grab very easily without having to prepare a big meal, that I was going to see myself reversing in the opposite direction. And so that's why I chose what I eat. So I'm going to give you a for instance. I tend to eat the exact same thing until I can't really eat it anymore, because that's just who I am. I get very like where I like something and then I'll eat it. Even when I'm not on a diet, I'll eat the same things. So this is how my day goes. I wake up, I actually try to get my 10,000 steps in before 1 p.m. if at all possible, or get as high as I can before in my steps before that 1 p.m. I just feel that my body is burning the best during that time, and so I feel like it's like that extra calorie burn during that time. 1 p.m. hits and I have my coffee with creamer, and I will have 2 tablespoons of creamer, which is 35 calories per tablespoon. And then I will usually have lunch, and you guys are gonna cringe when I tell you, but I eat 2 tacos and cinnamon twists and an unsweetened iced tea for lunch. And I eat that pretty much every single day during the week. It's what I like, it's what I love. If I don't have that, then I will sometimes get a fried chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A with an unsweetened iced tea, and that's what I'll get from there. But those are like my 2 favorite go-tos for lunch. They're quick, they're easy. I don't have a lot of time to be making food, nor do I really want to, if we're being honest. It's lunchtime. Dinner, I will, and between that, I will usually have 3 tablespoons of hummus, and then I will mix up some sort of vegetables raw, and I'll eat it with 3 tablespoons of hummus. I like the Sabra spicy, and then I'll actually put a little extra sriracha in the hummus and stir it around. So that way at least I'm getting some type of vegetable in me, and I do switch it up. So I go from like broccoli to carrots and green bell peppers raw. I do several different things, and I'll usually eat as many vegetables as I want with that 3 tablespoons of hummus. And then for dinner, I most of the time have an Amy's margarita personal pan pizza, and I love it. It's the best. I don't care. It's what I like, and I love pizza and I love bread, and that's why I said don't judge me. And then occasionally I will put more vegetables on top of the pizza, and I'll put as many as I want. I don't really count too much with the vegetables. I tend to keep track of my other items outside of my vegetables, but I don't really calorie count my vegetables, just because they haven't affected me in any kind of way. And so I will chop those up sometimes and put them on top of my pizza, just especially if I'm feeling extra hungry. It just makes it, a little more meatier, more food on the pizza. And then afterwards I will have a Snickers ice cream bar, which you can get the little packs of it, and either a Reese's or a Lucky Charms breakfast bar. They're 100 calories. Or I'll have a few of the sriracha, or not sriracha, it's the habanero and barbecue almonds, or the it's the sriracha one. And so I'll switch up depending on that. And occasionally, sometimes if I'm wanting something like salty, I'll switch out that last thing after the ice cream for a packet of the 100 calorie pretzels, if I'm wanting like something really salty, or popcorn occasionally. So that's what I eat. And like I said, you guys are going to come for me because I know it's not the healthiest of things, but it's what I like. I on the weekends, I usually make a steak salad instead of either for lunch or dinner, or I'll do like a BLT sandwich. I switch it up on the weekend just because I have more time on the weekend and can actually sit down and plan things out. But during the week, that's pretty much what I eat. I don't change it out. That's what I eat every single day. And it's what works for me. It makes me happy. I don't feel like I'm on a diet at all. I just feel like I'm my normal fat self, just having a good time. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. I don't look at my family and go, man, they're having this or that, because I feel actually really happy with what I'm eating. I'm getting all the junk that I felt like I was missing all the time when I would be on a diet. And it's what works for me. And like I said, it might not work for you, but it works for me. And I've lost 63 pounds, so it's obviously worked some. Will I possibly pick up bad traits when I stop? It's very possible. But for me, it felt like this is the crud that you ate before. If you can incorporate this in your current life and learn how to eat it in a normal, balanced way, then maybe this is something that you can hold on to and actually keep this weight off this time. And like I said, this is why I film these things. I could be looking back on this in 4 months, 6 months, a year, and going, you're dumb. You did not know what you're talking about. You needed to be eating healthy. You needed to have, salads and, watercress sandwiches. On 7-grain toast. I don't know, but that's what I like. Those are the foods that I enjoy. I figured out a way to incorporate it and lose the weight that I wanted to lose. The other thing that I want to say about the intermittent fasting is when you only have that short of a window, it helps because you don't feel as hungry. When you get, you'll feel hungry a little bit in the morning time, but the longer that you do it, it's easier to go to that time. Anyway, my thing is blinking, it's going to cut off. I hope this was helpful, and until next time, bye guys. Okay, be easy on me, guys. Again, just because you lose weight doesn't mean it all goes back. So my stomach is still a little jiggly, a lot of jiggly. My legs are definitely jiggly. My back and my arms, obviously, lots of jiggle. But that's my next step, is firming everything up, and that's going to take time. It's not going to be an easy thing, especially when you're in your 40s and you don't like to work out, so it's going to be something that I'm going to definitely have to work on more. But at least, I've slimmed down. I was going to wear the same outfit that I wore in the first video, but it doesn't fit. I couldn't find a safety pin or anything to keep it pinned up so I could try it on, but at least this way you can see that I've slimmed down. I still would like to lose at least about 10 pounds. Be easy at anything that you have to say in the comments. I've probably said 10 times worse, if not 1,000 times worse, so I'm not really concerned about it. But I do want to give you a before and after, because that's part of being vulnerable and realizing, changes aren't perfect, but at least it's a start.